What's up, guys? Heart Pirates TCG. Sorry I haven't been posting past couple days. Going through a tough time right now personally, trying to deal with some things. So I didn't want to, go a long time without posting. But I'm gonna bring you guys my tier list video. For those of you guys who watched my last tier list video, I've been pretty much spot on. For most part, like my first couple tier lists when I first started doing YouTube weren't very good. Because I didn't really understand the game at that point. But now that I can kind of see what the meta is kind of shaping into and what cards are available, I can kind of tell for the most part like what the meta is going to be. Of course, this is a little bit early and we don't know for sure. There's always going to be some surprises, but I'm going to do my best to kind of give you my take on what's good and what's really not good. So to start out with this, I feel like the format should be, if you're going to determine the meta with a tier list, you have to determine what the best decks are. And then, so we're going to do that, and we're going to talk about every deck that's not the best deck, basically. I mean, we're going to talk about that too, but so in my opinion, the S tier decks next set are obviously, of course, still Sakazuki. It's still, where's Anel at? Where is Anel? I can't find him anywhere. There he is right there. So Anel, and then it's, in my opinion, I think Perona is going to be really, really good. Obviously, Cat's still in there too, so let's put Cat in there as well. So I think these are the four best decks going into next set. And then you have Gecko, Moria, and Yamato being just below them. And some people are going to call Gecko and Yamato tier 1. I just don't see it, and I'll explain why I think that Perona is better than Yamato and Gecko. But let me talk about the S tier decks first, right? So Sakazuki obviously is still going to be probably, in my opinion, the second best deck behind Enel. I think Sakazuki right now is the second best deck, or I'm sorry, Sakazuki's the second best deck because Purple, Luffy, and Enel are winning just like everything right now. And then obviously Sakazuki's contending, but he hasn't won any major tournaments. So, Sakazuki, second best deck of this format. He's going to be really good next format as well. Enel with even more triggers is going to be pretty good into next format. Katakuri, obviously nothing's changed with that unless they ban 10 cost Big Mom, right? So just having access now to Gecko Moria just makes your matchup into Katakuri a lot better. For what is it called, for Sakazuki, because now we have a big body that we can play on our 8 Dawn turn that can not only establish a blocker, but it can also establish an 8/9 body, and it could like potentially obviously do like the whole Lucci Helmeppo play and pop 2 things and establish just like a big board or in a wide board. It's just so much better. The thing is, because we don't play the 10 cost Kaido now, Enel I think is a little bit better because our win condition pretty much was like 10 cost Kaido going into Enel. If you didn't see the what is it called? The 10 cost Kaido, if you were playing it, your matchup into Enel was just so much harder because there's nothing like that, like that 12k body that can easily fight into like their 8 or 9k bodies, and then like not only that but drawing 4 cards, so like it just like swings the momentum back in your favor and allows you to kill one thing per turn by battle, because you're swinging 4k over it. I have to give you 2 2ks and a 1k just to get out of it, and then you can use your resources to actually kill things that they just played. So things that they already have on the board, you can easily swing into it with the Kaido, and then you can use your resources to get rid of their stuff that they play. That's why it's good. I think Gecko obviously is still going to be good, but the thing is, like, you are still going to run out of resources relatively quickly because Gecko can only get you so far. So I think the matchup into Enel might be slightly worse, but it's still a really good deck. Obviously Enel just triggers on triggers on triggers. It's infinitely tanky. It's hard to lose. It just keeps, like, the more triggers that get released, the better that a deck's going to do. And a deck that can survive and outgrind you for as long as possible while also triggering into things that change the game drastically, I feel like it's just going to be good no matter what, right? There's like, it's rare that it's not going to be good, right? And then we'll talk about Katakuri. So Katakuri Of course, 10 cost Big Mom's absolutely insane, but he also has access to all the triggers. He also, in my opinion, like, he can get even more aggressive, and Sakazuki, because Sakazuki is such a fragile deck, it feels like Katakuri can just like run a deck that plays like 50 triggers straight up and then just like win off of them, right? And like it feels like that's going to be the strategy going forward. I mean, if you guys watched the Treasure Cup, Small Hat Crew did a video about the Katakuri, you know, kind of like what his strategy was, and he was like, yeah, I wanted to play as many like trigger cards as possible, and I think he even played Smoothie, if I remember correctly, but I mean, I could be wrong. But yeah, now they have access to so many trigger cards. They have Smoothie, Cracker, Sanji, Parasparrow, Satori. They're getting the Zoro, the one that I think it KOs a 4. Obviously they're getting Onami. It's just a really good deck, and it's also getting Impact as well, so it's going to be able to end the game pretty quickly. So top 3 right there. And then we have Perona. Now, Perona is the only leader I actually have in the big 4, in the S tier leaders, that can realistically contend. And it's because it's really good into Gecko, Moria, and Sakazuki. So think of it like this, like Perona's ability to like not only play Gecko, Moria as well, but also like make it so like anything, sorry about that, guys, anything Sakazuki plays or Gecko Moria plays, or even Yamato, anything they play pretty much is just getting rested, and you can easily just like take every card out of their hand by just swinging and swinging and swinging. And then that's not like, that's if you don't have the removal. If you have the removal, you can just keep swinging into their life, rest any 4 costs that they have, and then like KO it with like Ryuma or X-Drake or Brook or something along those lines. And then like you still have all of the access to the 8 cost Gecko Moria. You have access to 10 cost Doflamingo. This deck usually plays a lot of counter too, so it plays like anywhere from 10 to 12 2Ks, and then like 2 of the 0 cost events. So I think Perona is really good. I think Perona is going to be one of the most interesting decks in the game. The mirror match is absolutely dreadful, by the way. Like, I played it like one time. I've only played one mirror match, and it seemed awful. It seemed like it was just whoever drops Gecko first kind of wins. So I'm hoping that's not the case. Maybe it's just I'm new to the mirror match, but the mirror match is awful. But this like Perona actually has really interesting applications to like beating a lot of these other meta decks, and it also just completely destroys Law. ST10 Law, you know, red green Law, Zoro, it just bodies it. Like it's not even, it feels like it's not even close. And obviously it does that because it can just rest any character. So like you thought Lucci was bad, like imagine now I'm just like, oh, you play a Didon, I'm just going to rest it before it can attack. And then, you know, I'm going to, like, if you already rest one, I'm going to rest a different one. I'm going to play Ryuma. I'm going to pop that one. I'm going to swing into the other one. And you're just going to be able to control the board super well. And then also, like I said, just, you know, Gecko Moria can just bring back, like, a blocker and, like, whatever it is, right? Or, like, you know, bring back Lucci, something like that. I think Perona is really, really strong. And it's going to be a high skill ceiling deck, too. So whoever plays it the best will probably get the most out of it. I do see it faltering a little bit to Enel, but I think it can beat Katakuri. I haven't really tested the matchup yet, but I think it can beat Katakuri. Enel might be a little bit of a problem because it just doesn't go really wide. So we'll see. We'll kind of see how that pans out right there. So next we'll talk about Gecko Moria and the Yamato, and then we'll start doing the tier list too, because I know this, like, these videos are usually pretty long because I try to get all the leaders in there. I might miss out on some, but it's all right. Yeah. So Gecko Moria feels. I feel like Gecko Moria might actually be one card off. He's a really good deck, but it feels like the Thriller Bark engine kind of sucks. Like the Sindri's good, right, to fill the trash. Hogback can obviously bring back some stuff, and then Absalom can obviously KO some stuff. But for the most part, you're relying on the Navy engine, right? You're relying on the Kuzans, and like you're relying on Lucci, and you're relying on like having, you know, Helmeppos in the trash. And of course, both of them kind of work in synergy because they trash cards. But it feels like the Thriller Bark cards that you play aren't that great. And a lot of times, like, it's really hard for you to actually put stuff in the trash and keep it there, because if you're doing your job, like, you're not using your leader effect every single turn, right? Because it's kind of expensive. It's three Dawn for your leader effect. So like a lot of times you're playing like either Gecko Moria character, you're playing Kuzan, or you're playing, you know, something along those lines, and it just feels like you can only like put so many cards in the trash. Like there's just not a way to like keep, I mean, there's not a realistic way to keep filling your graveyard for stuff. Like you can play like the dog guy that on play on KO, like, you know, trashes too. You can play obviously Sindri, but it just feels like there's not a lot of ways to really like keep stuff in your trash. And I feel like that's going to be the downfall of the deck, is because like a lot of times when I want to use Gecko Moria on curve, I'm like, "Ah, I had a rough start earlier. I had to pop a couple things that I needed to kill so they wouldn't take over the game tempo wise. And now I only have 2 cards in the trash, and they're not Lucci and Helmeppo. Even if they are Lucci and Helmeppo, Lucci can't activate his effect. It's just, it seems like it's really complicated. I'm sure a really good player is going to do really good with Gecko Moria. But I feel like he's just slightly limited in that way. And I feel like he's a great deck, but he's like missing one thing. I think he's missing like one card and he'll be like really good. So I could be wrong on that, but that's just what it seems like to me. And Yamato is just going to be really good because she's not only a trigger deck, but she's just so aggressive. There's going to be a lot of different ways to build Yamato too. So like when you play her in tournaments, you're like always like, you never know what to expect. And like that, like keep you on your toes factor is going to win games. Cause like I almost lost the other day. I was playing somebody who like top decked Hody Jones and like rested all my stuff. And I was like, I luckily I had 1 life and like, I think I had like up to 10k encounter. So like I didn't lose, but it was like, this deck can just play a lot of stuff you don't expect. Like I saw people playing Sugar, like straight up. Like I've seen people play Sugar just to rest like blockers. Like, you're gonna have to like deck build around Yamato right here, and I think it's gonna be pretty tough to do. So now that we have that out the way, let's talk about some of the other leaders now. I think Queen is also going to be in A tier. Queen can battle with the best of them with something like Enel and Katakuri, and I wouldn't think it's probably good into Yamato, but it could be. I'm not sure. I haven't tested the matchup, but just adding that Sanji, I think, really did solve a lot of their problems. And because this is going to be a little bit more of a, it's going to be a little bit of a miscellaneous format. It feels like Queen could be a rogue deck that could, you know, do really well. I feel like Queen could do really good into Gecko. It can obviously do really good into Enel because it can just outgrind Enel and then, you know, keep healing over and over again. And then we'll see when it comes to Perona. I don't think it's good into Sakazuki, but we'll see. We'll see. I think Queen's still going to be an A tier. It's going to be probably towards the bottom of A tier, but I'm going to put it in there to show some respect to the Queen players. And then we're going to put Uta. I think Uta is going to be probably the top of A tier. I think Uta is like, probably right behind Gecko Moria, because Uta hard loses to Perona. Like Perona just destroys Uta. I played against Uta the other day, and it wasn't even close. Like it was like I literally just rested everything he had and KO'd it, and then he couldn't kill my Ryumas because I would just like pop all of his stuff. Like it would just like it was just bad. It was bad. But you know, Uta is going to be really good into something like Yamato. It's going to be really good into, I believe, you know, both the yellow decks, because it obviously can outlast it and build, you know, be aggressive. You know, it can absolutely beat Sakazuki because it can just run you out of resources. I almost lost to one today at locals. So yeah, Uta I think is really good. I think it's going to be either like the top 3 deck of A tier, or it could be like the best deck of A tier. I'm not entirely sure. I wouldn't mind putting it in S tier, but I just don't think it has it has a terrible matchup in a Perona, and it can easily lose to Sakazuki. It's kind of like a 50-50, so I don't want to go ahead and do that. And then we're going to talk about Red Purple Luffy. I think Red Purple Luffy is going to be probably somewhere in A. There's gonna be a lot of A tier decks that can contend. I think Red Purple Luffy can really contend with like a lot of these top decks. I think Red Purple Law can as well. I'll go ahead and talk about him at the same time. Maybe Red Purple Law is gonna be slightly better because it's better probably into Katakuri and Sakazuki. But yeah, both these decks are just really good at what they do. Like now that we have the draw issue kind of solved with Law, like we have the Reiju character, we have Queen. And we have a couple other cards, you know, that are coming out to help Law in set 6. But, you know, it feels like we no longer just die to like getting starved out. I mean, we still kind of do, but we not exactly. So with that being said, I think this deck gets better. I think this deck can be really good into something like Gecko Moria. I think this deck can be really good into something like Uta. Sometimes we'll see. If Uta draws really good, then it's probably going to be still pretty tough. But if Law can realistically like bottom deck all of their stuff, but you know, obviously Uta can outgrind it. So if Law can end the game before Uta can really take over, then obviously, you know, he's gonna win. So yeah, these two decks are gonna be really good. I wouldn't be surprised if these guys topped like 16 in like any regional or treasure cup, but I would be surprised if they won. And that's why I have them at A tier, right? Like the S tier decks, I wouldn't be surprised if I saw them win anything. And obviously I'd expect them to win at least one thing. But these A tier decks, like I if they won something, I would be surprised. But actually, no. I'm sorry. If these three decks up top, or I'm sorry, in the top of A tier won something, I wouldn't be surprised, but I do think it's an uphill battle, right? But these guys below the top three, if they won something, I would be shocked, right? I can see them topping like top 16 or something like that, but I just don't see them winning anything. So yeah, I think the top three decks of A tier could interchangeably be in S tier depending on the format, or I'm sorry, depending on how like things shape out. So I'll keep that in mind because I wouldn't be surprised if any of these guys won a tournament. I know obviously all of these guys have won a tournament in Japan. I'm pretty sure at least. So keep that in mind. And then we'll talk about we'll talk about a sleeper real quick. I think Kaido is like low key like I think purple Kaido is actually going to be like one of the best decks next set. Like having access to 10 cost Kaido just makes this deck so much better. And of course, it's everyone right now is playing you know, Borsalinos. So like obviously you're not wiping the board completely, but that's the only card you can't take off the board. And now like Kaido has has an actual good body that can play off Onigashima. So like Onigashima, like we used to have to play like king, right? The 6 cost king, or like the 6 cost like vanilla 6/8. Now we have Banish Zoro, who's a 1k, he's a 6/7 banish with 1k counter. That obviously when you go turn 1 and you play Oni turn 2, you go to 6 Dawn, and then obviously you play, you know, that card. I feel like that's just a really good card to have on curve. And then the next turn you obviously go into 9 Dawn. So if they can't get rid of that, that Zoro on curve, you banish something for 7 Dawn, or I'm sorry, you banish something for no Dawn attached, you swing 7k or get 2 cards out of their hand. Then you drop Rush Kaido, pop something, and either kill their character or swing again. And they just took 2 life in 1 turn, and you have a 7k body and a 10k body. I think Kaido is actually really strong, and because he's a 5 life leader, he's gonna be pretty good. He obviously, I made a video of how Kaido destroys an L, like it's not even close. Kaido can easily beat Perona because obviously he plays a bunch of big bodies, and you know, Perona like has to use like cards to, you know, get his bodies to 4 costs to be able to pop them, and then we can just wipe the board. If they like play Gecko and like try to do all their like shenanigans, you know, either Gecko, Moria, or Perona, if they try to do that, then you just wipe the board completely. Same with Uta, if they build like a big board, you know, Luffy broke, you know, Sanji or something like that, or Usopp or Nami, you just wipe the board. I think Kaido's like a low-key sleeper. I think Kaido's actually going to be like, and maybe not like one of the best, like maybe not like a top 3 deck in A tier, but I think Kaido's going to be really strong. And people got to watch out for Kaido. Like people sleep on Kaido. He's no joke, bro. Kaido's like legit. Then we're going to talk about, I think that might be it. No. For A tier, we'll still have Whitebeard in here. Whitebeard's always going to be good. That deck, it'll, until it gets like permanently rotated out of the game or like banned, it'll always be a relevant deck no matter what. I feel like I think Sakazuki's going to be the same way, which is why I think people think it's going to be a problem. But like as long as like Whitebeard exists, I think it's going to be in the discussion to like win it, like to like maybe even win a tournament or like top a tournament, or like be a deck you have to look out for. Because I know when like Yamato was getting really good, the counter to Yamato, people were just like picking up Whitebeard again, which is obviously not what anybody wants, especially because Whitebeard dominated for 3 formats in a row. But it's just the case. Like Whitebeard is just ridiculously good. We're gonna put actually I think Zoro gets worse. I think Zoro and Maw both get worse. Let me kind of scour this real quick, see if there's any other decks I would want to put in A tier, because it just feels like there isn't. If I can, I guess no, dude, because Purple Luffy is just gonna get cracked by a lot of these decks. I think that's it for A. I think that's it for A tier. I think that's it for A tier, and we'll talk about B tier now. So A tier was all the decks that like if they topped, I would be like, oh okay, yeah, that's. I mean, I could see that. You know, I could see, you know, how they topped. But B tier is gonna be decks that like are going to be annoying as hell for anybody playing in a tournament to actually play, and they're gonna have to pray that they don't run into them. So let's talk about the top of B tier. And the reason that a lot of these decks are in the top of B tier and not in A tier or S tier is because there's some support cards next set that just completely eliminate them. And I'll go ahead and talk about them right now. And it's going to be obviously the two weenie decks that dominated in the first couple sets. And sorry, there's people out in my living room just making a huge noise. But yeah, for those of you guys who don't know, not only do we have Lucci on standby, right? But now we have Absalom. And now we have stuff like Onami, right? So Onami can easily just crack Law's board, and they're gonna have to play a bunch of blockers first. Or not, I'm sorry, not their board, but like they can just do 2 life that they obviously get banished. They don't get them to hand. We have stuff like Perona that just gatekeeps them out. Anel is just gatekeeping Zoro out already, as well as Perona now too. You get the new card, that the 2-cost event that bottom decks a 2 and a 1. It's like Lucci but an event. So that right there is gonna put Law and Zoro just so far behind. It feels like these 2 decks are just like, the way that they're built right now, I feel like they can't actually, like, I would be shocked if either of these won a tournament at this point. Like these decks, they're going to give some of these decks problems. Like they're going to, of course, give Katakuri some problems. They might give Sakazuki some problems, but you know, like running into Perona and Sakazuki in a 9 or 10 round tournament, like these 2 decks, there's no way that they don't go like X2. Like they're at least X2. It just feels like that. So, also Law getting a lot better. Like Law like destroys red green Law. Even Nicky Goldman said in his in a video that I saw of him, he was like, yeah, one of my first rounds I played red purple Law, and it was like it's like literally the hardest matchup, even worse than Sakazuki. So like having like 4 decks that just like have access to like so much stuff to like just kill your stuff is it's just really good. And then we'll talk about some of the decks that you wouldn't expect to be on here. And we're going to talk about Hordy Jones. Hody Jones, however you say it. Hody Jones, I'm going to call him Hordy Jones because I don't like Hody Jones. It sounds stupid. But Hody Jones, didn't I just say? Hordy Jones is actually super annoying and super aggro. I played against it. I won, but it was really close, and you're going to have to watch out for that card because there's like a couple cards you like can't KO, or I think by battle, so you have to use your resources on it. And if you're not playing a deck that like can like just bottom deck stuff or KO stuff, like Katakuri, I guess they run Gadatsu, but like it's not like common removal, right? Or Uta or Yamato or, you know, Whitebeard, any of these decks that don't run like KO stuff, it feels like that card's going to do really good. It's also very, like I said, it's very aggressive. It's going to be a deck that like really catches people by surprise. It's going to ruin a lot of tiebreakers. I don't necessarily think it's good, but I don't think it's bad. And I think it can give people some problems. And then we're going to talk about Uta as well. I think Uta is going to be somewhere around here. Uta is not a good leader, but I think it can like low-key like cheese people with the color pool it has. And it can ramp to 10 so fast. It can like do a lot of really interesting things, and I think it's going to catch people off guard a lot. Let's see, what else do we have in here? Bello Betty is going to be one of those, you know, obviously like just bad matchups for you. And then I think something like along the lines of maybe, I think Purple Luffy will be over here. I don't think there's a reason to play Purple Luffy over Kaido right now, because Purple Luffy, of course he can ramp, but like his strategy going into next set, it just feels like he just dies to everything, and it feels like Kaido just has the better boss monster, and of course it can't ramp nearly as easily, but like just having that looming threat of being able to wipe the board is just something that I don't know. I think it's really powerful. And then we're gonna talk. Where's my boy Croc at? Where's he at? Mono Crocodile. I can't find him on here. Do you guys see him on here? Yeah, I can't find Mono Crocodile on here, but I promise you guys, Mono Crocodile is actually legit. We're gonna call this Mono Crocodile right here. So this version of Sakazuki's Mono Crocodile, Monoblue Crocodile. We're going into a tempo meta, and I don't think there's many decks that are better at playing removal tempo than Crocodile. and he's going to lose super hard, in my opinion, to Sakazuki, and he's probably going to lose to probably Enel. Maybe, we'll see. But other than that, like, I feel like Sakazuki, or I'm sorry, Monoblue Crocodile could really like be a contender in this meta. It's just like we got to figure out a good deck list for him. But Monoblue Crocodile could actually be legit. Same with Blurple Kaido. Monoblue Crocodile and Blurple Kaido are always going to be legit. I still don't think there's a route, at least until EB01, for Blurple Croc to do anything. But, you know, obviously the 10-drop Kaido, like I said, you can play the draw Kaido and you can play the 10-drop Kaido. And then this can play the draw Kaido, as well as Red Rock and 3000 Worlds and all that. So, and the new, you know, Nakamura Arrow or something like that. So, yeah, I think that's going to be pretty good. And let's talk about, let's see, is there any other decks in B tier that we want to put in there? I guess Doflamingo you can obviously put in B tier. Like, it's just a deck that is going to be just really solid. OP07 obviously gets better, but we'll see. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Here it is right here. Here it is right here. So disregard. Here's Monoblue Crocodile right here. Yeah, so I guess I think if the format gets more aggressive, I don't think Crocodile, the yellow purple Crocodile, can really make any waves. I don't think that that deck is good in like faster formats. And because we have stuff like Uta now, and because Sakazuki's obviously getting, you know, stronger and then Enel and Katakuri are getting more aggressive, and then, you know, Gecko can go pretty wide pretty quick. I feel like, you know, yellow purple Crocodile just isn't what it was. In this set right now, set 5, the format's so much slower, so like he can thrive. But now that, like, you know, there are like more aggressive decks and decks that like do like, you know, double strike, or decks that have like more banish cards, it just feels like it's just not going to be as good this set. So and then we'll put Kid in there too. Kid in B tier. Kid's just really strong, and this is in no particular order, by the way, guys. It just feels like that. Well, I guess the B tier isn't really in order, like after Zoro and Law. It's just how it is. And then I hate to do it, but we're gonna put some cards in semi trash, and if we change our minds, we'll of course bump them up to B tier. But let's just start out with like cards that we know are super, or decks that we know are super trash or semi trash, and we'll go from there. So Ivankov, no, he's gonna go in trash. Ivankov is super, so kind of trash. We'll put Sabo in there. We'll put yellow purple Croc in there. We'll put, you know, something like Magellan in there. Black yellow Big Moms in there. Let's see, what else do we got in there? We got, I guess we could put Ace in B tier still. I think Ace is pretty good. I think Arlong could probably be in B tier, even though I don't like Arlong as a deck, but I think he could possibly be in B tier. I don't think Dofi gets anything, so we're gonna put Dofi in like semi trash right now. Dofi has like no identity anymore, because it was the film deck, but now Uta just does it way better. And like Dofi has like the birdcage engine, which just is like kind of shitty, and he just has like no support. So I don't think Dofi's really gonna be all that good. Unfortunate, because it's like one of my favorite leaders, but I just don't think he's very good. We're gonna put Kuro in like semi trash. Kuro's, I hate Kuro Copers, bro. Kuro Copers are just the worst. You guys like always think that the deck is like gonna do something, and then it doesn't, and it like drives me crazy, bro. Every time people talk about Kuro, I want to like shoot myself. It's so I wouldn't say it's annoying, but like Kuro is a bad deck, and I don't understand why people have such an affinity towards it. And then we're gonna put like semi trashes, and like I know yellow Big Mom is gonna be in B tier because she just has triggers and 10 cost Big Mom. So we're gonna put Rebecca in semi trash. We're gonna put Rosinante in semi trash. As much as it kills me, guys, we're gonna put Rosinante in semi trash. We're gonna put the Zoro. This deck is saucy, the Zoro Sanji, but it's not good. And then I guess we'll put Lucci in semi trash as well. Lucci also has pretty much no identity. I don't think Lucci can compete in any stage right now. Yeah, I just don't think so. And now let's just put I guess we'll put Red Luffy in semi trash too. Now we'll just talk about all the trash decks. We'll talk about Croc, Kinemon, Odin, Ivankov, Iceberg, Vivi, Garp, Isho, Red Green Luffy, Smoker, Sanji, Yamato, Black Luffy, Red Purple Kid, Zephyr, and regular Sakazuki. So yeah, those decks, there's nothing to talk about. Those decks have no application at all to be winning any tournament, even locals. Like, they can't really win locals, really. At least we'll see until EB01, but this is just set 6, no EB01. Yeah, I feel like this is pretty accurate. A lot of the B tier decks are going to be decks that, like I said, can like be bad matchups, and like decks that you can realistically take into a tournament and like probably get like top 64. I wouldn't be shocked about that at all. The A tier decks are decks that could be like top like 16, and like I like, if you saw one in top 16, you'd be like, okay, that's fair. I know you guys are gonna like laugh at me saying Kaido, but like Kaido like low-key has really good matchups into set 6. So if you high roll for a day, like if enough people play Kaido, like they can high roll for the day and actually like win. Like they can, like, I wouldn't say win a tournament, but they can definitely get like top 32, top 16 with Kaido. Yeah, and then obviously the S tier decks are the decks that we expect to do really good, except for, Perona, we don't expect to do very good, but I think Perona is really good. I don't see how Perona is not one of the best decks next set. Like I said, I could be wrong, but the way that I see this meta shaking up, and because of all of these decks that I put in this tier list, like the A and the S tier, Perona has a really good like matchup into a lot of them. Like I said, Perona has a pretty good matchup into Law. It has a really good matchup into Uta. It has a good matchup into Gecko Moria. I could just see it falling flat to yellow pretty much. But other than that, I think this is pretty accurate. Let me know if you guys agree. Sorry if I put your deck in the trash or semi-trash category. Some of these decks I like to play too. Blurple Croc's one of my favorite decks ever. Grape Dofi is one of my favorite decks ever. I like Rosinante as a leader. I think he's really interesting, and Sabo was really fun as a leader too. It just feels like they're not very good, at least going into this set. So yeah, this video has been about 32 minutes. So thanks for bearing with me, guys. I'll try to make another video pretty soon, doing some OP06 stuff, because that's kind of what I'm looking forward to at this point. So yeah, see you guys later. Peace.